We've talked about this before about it. There is a need. It is a mutual agreement, and it has to work for both parties. If one party is just completely strong-armed and not getting anything out of the deal, what is their motivation to cooperate with you? There's none. In a desperate market, you have that option. But we're not in a desperate market, even though it's shifting, even though it's cooling a little bit right now. It's a temporary lull, and I don't have one seller that says, yeah, I'd give up $80,000 to get it sold today instead of in 3 months from now. Most people would not.
Nobody would. But I do think like when I get in the market and there's 800 homes out there, they'd be like, I've got to move. I'm moving. I've got to do something here. I'll accept 50,000 less.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, they still got to pay the bill.
Yeah.
They can't drop it so low that they're coming to the table with money. It doesn't make sense to sell then.
I think the real important thing to remember is everybody's going to ask for something. Unless you're in a multiple offer situation, it's brand new on the market. There's 3 competing offers. Don't ask them for anything. If that's not the case, even if it's been on the market 30 days, 60 days, ask for something. Absolutely. I always encourage people, throw something out there, ask for something, whether you're going to ask for some allowances or you're going to ask for, 10,000 off, you're going to, whatever it is that you think you need to do. You should always be thinking about what you can ask that seller for. But again, you have to remember in the back of your head that it is a two-way street. It has to work for everybody. Yeah, if it's completely loaded to just benefit the buyer, nobody's looking to give their property to you. And that's what people sometimes don't even think about,
And one of the other things too is no matter what the market is or what kind of house it is, if it's brand new on the market, nobody's going to give up all their money right away.
No.
They're going to wait for a while to see what the market does.
That's right. Even if they wait 3 weeks and they say, okay, we haven't had many showings and many bites, we're ready to do a price reduction. But nobody's usually nobody does that right out the gate. Just says, I'll give something up right away.
And I love the buyers that say, I wouldn't pay more than this for this house. And you're like, based on what? Well, just because that's I won't. And you just say, well, this house isn't for you then.
And I try to explain to people, that seller is selling in our current market for market value. And we may have differences of what we think that is, but I don't like people that do that kind of stuff. Well, our budget's only this. Yeah. That's not the seller's problem, They'll
never get that price. Like,
that's not your problem. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of green grass between where a lowball offer is and where the seller's asking their asking price is. So I always explain to the buyers, I always say, look, if the seller's asking $350 and you're at $275, they can drop to $325 and see how the market responds. They could drop to $315 and see how the market responds.
They had a long way to go before they get there.
They have a lot of green grass between where you're at and where they're at. Now, having said that, a lot of buyers say, hey, I want to anchor a price point at $275 and then try to negotiate from there. And that's
to find their bottom.
Yeah, to find the bottom. Now, speak to that a little bit. Why do you have to be careful with that, where you anchor with a seller because of the perception component? If you try to anchor too low, what happens? What do you see with your sellers when you get a lowball offer like that?
With the sellers?
Yeah.
I see anytime I get a lowball offer, it's almost like, well, let's raise the price. Not the offer price. Let's raise the list price. I'm so offended by this. Let's go the other way.
Yeah.
Or, now you're going to pay my realtor fees. You're going to start, I'm going to start getting stuff from you because I'm so insulted.
Yeah.
So I don't think, if you say I'm going to try to pull or see how low I can get them or see if they'll come off at all, you can't start super low. I mean, there's a spot. There's a sweet spot. If you go way too low, you're just going to send them the wrong way.
Yeah, and that's what I tell a lot of buyers too. And correct me if I'm wrong, Shannon, if you talk to your buyers like this, but I always say, look, there's a fine line between a good, solid, low offer and offending someone. And if you offend someone, you're not able to draw out their bottom dollar. That's the whole point of the negotiation, is to draw out their bottom dollar. But if you offend them, immediately you have the wall that goes up. Immediately you have a seller going, well, I want to go up on the price, or I want to jab back. But if you can justify a good, solid, low offer and then kind of hold tight to that, is that more of a situation where you see buyers get better deals?
Yeah, absolutely. Buyers get better deals if you're going to ask for something off, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we've had just recently a very nice home on the market. We had several offers on it. Sellers really weren't willing to budge. Another buyer came in, and it was as low or maybe a little bit lower with a few concessions, and they had been there long enough and gotten enough that they were like, okay, this is probably where we're going to be at and what we're going to do. But those people before that, they didn't get a chance with them.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get a chance with them. So I think that if you're a little bit more giving, and realize, I think sometimes buyers don't realize, they're looking for the best deal. They're not realizing, you're taking an offer to somebody on the place where they brought their kids home to, where they spent their Christmases at. It's very emotional to them. And I'm not saying that you have to pay for that emotion, but take that into consideration when you're making that offer and you're trying to just rip their head off. What's their motivation? What would their motivation be? Unless they are desperate, unless they, we've got a job offer in another place and we got to move in 30 days or we lose this or that, or, there are some pinch points sometimes that you find where people have to negotiate a little bit more. But overall, people just don't have to do that much for you.
Yeah.
Well, I think, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I think too, I think the goal of the lowball offer is to bring the seller down, and then a negotiation tactic is to meet in the middle.
Right.
You know what I mean? And a lot of time, if you get a good lowball offer, you can already see how this is going to go. Like you get an offer that's 20,000 low, like, well, you come up 10, we'll go down 10.
Yeah,
and
split
we'll make
the
this
difference.
work.
It's not that far off.
But when you're trying to ask somebody to come down 30, 40, $50,000 within the first week, you're not going to get it.
They at least want to fill out the market.
Yeah.
Like if they've been on the market 6 months, that may be a different story to be able to be that ambitious. And you can see that they haven't done any price reductions. But if you can see they've been on the market for 2 weeks and they lowered it $10,000 in the first 2 weeks, they probably got a little bit of feedback. And now you want to come in and ask for another 50 off of that. Yeah. Chances are they're just going to say no.
Well, the other thing too that I see a lot is the hidden lowball offer. You get full price, but you're
the whole list of things,
costs,
yeah.
You're paying their realtor, you're paying an allowance, you're doing, all of these things, and then they hit you big time with repairs. I mean, I always tell the sellers, I go, well, let's figure out what this looks like. What you're walking away with.
That's usually a better way for a buyer to do it anyway, in all honesty.
That's how I do it.
Yeah, because for that, it's slow walks, but at least that seller feels like they're getting their price. Because sometimes, even if they know they have to negotiate and they figure, oh, we didn't think we would get a full price offer, we did get one. Well, you didn't, because you just paid, $8,000 in their closing costs and you bought them a home warranty, and they're still going to ask for a couple of repairs, and but they feel good about it. Sometimes it really is about a mindset and how you present things to people. It's like if I walk up and I just say, Paul, you look fabulous today and I like your new haircut, you're going to be like, awesome. But if I walk up and I just say, I see you got your haircut, and I walk off, you're going to be like, what does that mean? Yeah. Like, I'm offended. Yeah. And I may not have meant it offensively, So I think that, it's really about the presentation.